So Secretary Clinton is making the case against Trump. Again, we're going to hear it again in New Hampshire. You don't think of New Hampshire as a huge presidential battleground, but sometimes those small states matter when you get in a close race to 270. She thinks at the moment it won't be close. She thinks she's going to be up around 300, maybe even across 300. So listen, this is North Carolina yesterday. Deb Ross is running against the incumbent Republican Senator Richard Burr. Hillary Clinton dives right in.
Unlike her opponent, Deborah has never been afraid to stand up to Donald Trump, because she knows he's wrong for North Carolina, wrong for America, and people of courage and principle of both parties have stood up to reject his dangerous, divisive agenda.
Now, that's Sunday in North Carolina. We're waiting Monday in New Hampshire, but here's a flavor of Saturday in Pennsylvania. Notice the pattern.
He heard him say terrible things about women. He heard him spread the lie that our first black president wasn't really born in America. Now, how much more does Pat Toomey need to hear?
This is Velcro. I mean, she is traveling now with essentially a big roll of Velcro, trying to take all the Republican Senate candidates and attach them to Donald Trump, especially on the issues that might drive suburban women. Because if you look at that ABC poll, she leads by 20 points among women, 20 percentage points. She's gained 12 points from mid-October among non-college educated white women, and she's doubled her lead to 32 points among college educated white women.
Well, yeah, and I think this is interesting in the case of Toomey and Ayotte especially. They came in 2010 in that wave after the 2008 election when everybody went, oh gosh, will the Republican Party recuperate? How will they do this? And Ayotte especially was somebody who swung those numbers of women way back in her direction by huge margins. And this will be a giant test to see whether Trump is able to eviscerate all of that movement, because she spent 6 years trying to hold on to that. And it is markedly with these suburban college-educated women.
There's also a very clear sort of message from Hillary Clinton here. It's kind of mandate, schmandate, give me a majority. You know, talk of a presidential mandate is very nice, but nothing succeeds like having control of at least the Senate and maybe even the House.
Yeah, and both of those candidates have actually been case in point for down ballot Republicans being able to get some space from Trump. I mean, they've been doing okay in states where Trump has really been struggling. In Pennsylvania, some of those polls have been 10 points down, and the Democrats are trying to close that gap as much as
and you see, and they're being careful about this, but you see, like Hillary Clinton said, I'm superstitious, essentially don't talk to me in public about transition planning. But you do know that with Jeff Zeleny reporting yesterday, she's privately reached out to some former Republican Senate colleagues on Capitol Hill to say, hey, if I win, I want to work with you. We know they have a transition, so does the Trump campaign. They have a transition organization that's planning just in case you win, but the Clinton one seems to be picking up some acceleration, not quite in the resume collecting mode yet, but they seem to be. How careful do you need to be about that with 15 days out? And again, your name's Clinton, and she's running against Donald Trump, which is probably the greatest gift of all in this campaign, but she's still Hillary Clinton, and she still has a lot of potential baggage.
Hillary's also one, as we saw in the debates, she likes to prepare. You know, she prepares for everything before a fundraiser. She has the printed out pages of everybody who's going to be there. So you can imagine her trying to prepare for 2 weeks out potentially. And what does she do on day one, right after the election? And you got to think that they are plotting those things out, being very quiet about it, or at least trying to, given sort of the she hasn't won yet. And
internally, and when you talk to Republicans, they look at Clinton. They think she's a flawed candidate. They think there's still some stuff you could do in this WikiLeaks. They think there are other things you can do. As a story in the Wall Street Journal today about the Virginia governor using his PAC to take nearly $500,000 to a state Senate candidate whose husband happens to be a senior official at the FBI, who then happens to have been involved deeply in the email investigation. And even if there's nothing nefarious there, boy, it sure stinks when you look and you start to connect these dots. But what frustrates Republicans is they say Donald Trump, has been unable to prosecute this case. Now, they blame us to a degree, but Donald Trump in his speeches, focuses on other things. He talks about a rigged election. He talks about suing the women if he wins or loses after the election. 15 days. Can you do it?
Yeah, so she will continue to take hits, and many other Republican candidates in a different world would have taken more advantage of those. I think he's not that disciplined about going after her on these things, but I think it's a reason for her not to get too cocky. The problem for him has always been that there's a lot of electoral votes built into the blue part of the map, and that he has to run a perfect game, and we have not yet seen a perfect game from him. So 15 days of perfect game, I'm still skeptical even that would do it.
15 days of perfect game. And so does the Clinton campaign, Abby, stay in New Hampshire, North Carolina, Florida? Or will we see her, not the First Lady, will we see Hillary Clinton go to Arizona? Will we see Hillary Clinton or Tim Kaine go to Utah?
It's definitely a possibility. They're definitely looking into it. I mean, the issue for them right now is that we're at this late stage in the game. There are not that many persuadable voters left, and Hillary Clinton is not actually the best persuader. So it's always kind of a balance of, do you send her, and what would you accomplish if you send her? So I think they're still looking at the map, still trying to figure this out, and also trying to protect their flank. They can't let some of these battleground states, especially a state as critical as Florida, go by the wayside.